Hello and welcome. Here's what's happening right now, promising to make life more affordable.
To help our most vulnerable get the money that they're entitled to.
Pledging new measures to ease the financial burden.
No matter where you are, it's a bit stressful to look for a job.
Shifting job market trends and a market meltdown.
It's probably been one of the most devastating situations that I've been on.
Plus, multiple people missing after a massive Tennessee explosion.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
The Prime Minister has announced a series of measures meant to make life more affordable for families, just weeks before he unveils his first ever federal budget. It includes some recent campaign pledges and one long overdue Liberal promise. CTV's Rachel Aiello was at today's press conference and has more on Mark Carney's budget preview.
Heather, after a week of intense pressure to make progress on some hard files like trade and energy, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced a trio of small moves to lower costs and make tax filing easier.
Today, the Prime Minister took a long-promised step towards ensuring all Canadians are fully covered under this country's social safety net. Starting next year, the Canada Revenue Agency will automatically file taxes for low-income individuals.
This program will pay out hundreds of millions of dollars in benefits in the next few years that would otherwise be left unclaimed.
The Liberals are also making a pilot program that provides food to schools nationwide permanent, and are renewing the Canada Strong Pass, making museums, parks, and train tickets cheaper for a month over the December holidays and again for summer 2026.
Since no one can possibly experience all that Canada has to offer in just a few short months.
The announcement, the start of a political communication strategy.
Today was a preview of some of the things we're going to see in the next federal budget.
There's going to be more good news, trust me.
That was exactly my question.
Trust me.
But not all see it as good news.
They're printing cash to pay for their out-of-control spending.
Today, the government couldn't say why the years-old Liberal promise to make tax filing easier hadn't been acted on sooner, or why it'll take until 2028 to fully implement it.
I mean, we can talk all day about why something didn't happen in 2023 or 24 or 22, what have you, but I know certainly moving forward in this budget, 25, 26, 27, we have ambitious goals.
The Prime Minister said these measures will be considered operational rather than capital expenditures, a new distinction this government intends to make in its budgets. Heather?
Rachel Aiello in Ottawa. At that news conference today, Rachel also asked the Prime Minister if he believes Canada needs another pipeline from Alberta to the West Coast. Alberta wants it, British Columbia does not. Here's how Mark Carney responded.
We believe, this government believes in nation-building projects, which can, in both clean and conventional energy. Those projects have several characteristics. Material economic benefits, linking together different parts of our economy, consistency with our climate objectives, and benefits and participation for Indigenous peoples. So those elements coming together can come together in a pipeline to the West Coast.
All right, let's bring in CTV's chief political correspondent, Vashi Kapelos, now in Ottawa. Vashi, Mark Carney didn't say no to the idea, so what should we read into his response?
Well, exactly that, Heather. It's actually very news-generating. An excellent question from Rachel and an answer that provides some guidance about where the Prime Minister is on this, because it really is distinguished from what we heard from the Federal Energy Minister just yesterday, which was, oh, it's going to be Alberta's thing. They're going to have to convince BC to get on board because Alberta and BC are so at odds over the prospect of another pipeline to BC's northwest coast. What we heard from the Prime Minister there is exactly what you said, Heather. It's not a no, which means that there is some wiggle room going forward, and I think sets the table for something different than we might have anticipated otherwise. I thought the other very interesting thing he said today was around what might be necessary in order for a second pipeline to go ahead, namely that the emissions cap, for example, on oil and gas could be eliminated, or that the tanker ban on the northwest coast of BC could be eliminated as well. He was asked, would you be willing to repeal either of those things, by Rachel again, and he said it depends, and talked a little bit more about possible outcomes. Didn't say no. If that had been the previous Prime Minister, those were key planks of his climate plan, he would have said no way, no how. So something to take from that as well, Heather.
Certainly, Vashi, thank you. CTV's chief political correspondent, Vashi Kapelos. A major escalation in the trade war between the U.S. and China. U.S. President Donald Trump threatening a massive increase in tariffs on November 1st. Trump posting on Truth Social, the United States of America will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff that they are currently paying. Trump's comments on China earlier in the day shook the markets. The Dow fell more than 800 points. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq had their worst day since April. And the TSX closed the day down more than 400 points, its biggest decline since April. A surprise for the Canadian economy with an unexpected 60,000 jobs added last month. But with the unemployment rate steady at just over 7%, it's a good reminder to focus on the longer-term trends. CTV's Adrian Gobriel joins us with a closer look. Adrian, where are we seeing the gains?
Heather, Canadian manufacturing posted its first job increase since last January. Today, we're here inside the stainless steel banding company, where they say even with the positive report for their sector, President Donald Trump's tariffs have put a stranglehold on their business.
This particular unit here.
Inside Rudy Pasquini's stainless steel banding company, the pride he has for his self-made small business is evident.
We're the only ones in Canada that actually do this. We've been doing it since about 2001.
Though his plans to hire have been put on hold after multiple U.S. clients put the brakes on their orders from his Canadian company.
We had a deal cooking in the U.S. that would have probably brought in about $9 million U.S. dollars. And because of the tariffs, it's all been put on hold.
Canada's unemployment rate, not including the pandemic, held at the 9-year high posted in August. Yet the country's economy also posted a net gain of 60,400 jobs in September, led by manufacturing, which accounted for nearly half of the spike in employment. Though the uptick in manufacturing positions isn't being felt across the board.
Adrian, if we had that U.S. business and there were no tariffs, we would have expanded our operation by at least 10 more people.
The news is especially bleak for those trying to enter the job market. Unemployment among youth and young adults aged 15 to 24 increased to 14.7% in September, the highest it's been in 15 years.
Anytime the labor market has slacked, young people tend to bear the brunt of it.
The modest employment increase in September was also led by full-time work, according to Statistics Canada.
Here at Band & Go, Rudy Pasquini is hoping for a renewed understanding of the manufacturing sector, its ability to grow Canada's GDP and power job growth across the country. Heather.
All right, Adrian, thank you. At least 19 people are missing and feared dead after a massive blast at a military explosives facility in Tennessee. The sound of the blast was caught on camera this morning, an hour southwest of Nashville. Residents reported hearing the blast up to 30 kilometers away. Major damage could be seen to the site and the surrounding area. Crews from multiple law enforcement agencies are searching through the rubble. The local sheriff says it's the most devastating thing he's ever seen.
We do have 19 souls. That we're looking for. So, excuse me, I ask you to keep in mind those families.
3 people were also treated with minor injuries. Residents are being asked to avoid the scene as a precaution. Israel's military says a ceasefire in Gaza is now in effect after the country's cabinet approved the plan earlier today. There is a tense calm now in the region as we await the release of both Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. CTV's Kamal Karamali is watching today's developments and has the latest for us now. Kamal.
Heather, although other ceasefires have failed, there's hope that this one will be longer lasting. Mass movement on the ground in Gaza. Hours after Israel's government approved a ceasefire plan early Friday, ratifying the first phase of a peace deal with Hamas. thousands of Palestinians making the trek from the south of the Strip north to Gaza City, what was once a city of roughly 1 million people reduced to rubble. Families returning to what's left of their homes. Fida Hara is searching for a mattress, even a pillow. Because winter is coming, she says, but she doubts she'll find anything. Israeli forces seen withdrawing from parts of the enclave, troops now stationed behind a line of agreement.
But it is still in Gaza. So there is a tremendous amount of work to be done.
The next 3 days crucial to the success of this deal. Israel has agreed to release 250 Palestinians locked up in prison cells and another 1,700 detainees. While Hamas has agreed to release 48 Israeli captives, 20 of them still believed to be alive, and a deadline to return them by Monday.
The Red Cross will be intimately involved in trying to facilitate the exchange of Palestinians and Israelis. There will be a lot of discussion on the ground about what routes they will take.
Starting today, about 600 humanitarian aid trucks are also expected to enter Gaza daily after the United Nations had declared a famine nearly 2 months ago.
This aid is life-saving, and we need to see it get in immediately.
This first phase, part of U.S. President Donald Trump's 20-point plan, with U.S. troops touching down in Israel to monitor the ceasefire, while U.S. President Donald Trump will arrive in Israel on Monday and is set to address Israeli parliament and convene world leaders for a summit. Heather.
Kamal Karmali for us. Thank you. Despite President Trump's quest for the prestigious honor, the Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded to the leader of the Venezuelan opposition.
Maria Corina Machado, for her tireless work promoting democratic rights.
Machado currently lives in hiding but refuses to leave the country of Venezuela. She was lauded for being a key unifying figure in a once deeply divided opposition to the Nicolas Maduro government. Here is the moment Machado received the call.
You will be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for 2025.
Oh my God, I have no words. This is a movement. This is a achievement of a whole society.
Machado was blocked by Venezuela's courts from running for president against Maduro, who has been in power since 2013. As for Trump, the committee explained their decision-making process.
This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates, and that room is filled with both courage and integrity. So we base only our decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel.
In response to the announcement, the White House communications director posted the Nobel Committee proved they place politics over peace. However, Machado herself recognized the U.S. president, posting a dedication of the prize to the suffering people of Venezuela and President Trump for his decisive support of her cause against the Maduro regime. Meantime, an emergency UN Security Council was held today after a request by Venezuela to discuss U.S. military actions in recent weeks in the waters of the South American country.
I'm Kathy Lee in Strathmore, Alberta. Coming up on CTV National News. A Canadian man's desperate search for relief from excruciating pain.
I don't wish this on anybody.
Why he flew across the Atlantic for hip surgery instead of finding relief at home. Coming up on CTV National News.
An emotional moment for Prince William as he discussed the impact of suicide on World Mental Health Day.
The hardest thing is we would have been okay. You okay?
I'm sorry, it's hard to ask you questions that
and
I know.
Hard,
no,
and
it is.
You've experienced loss yourself.
It's okay.
The Prince of Wales visibly moved by his conversation with Fran Mannings, whose husband took his own life. Prince William's Royal Foundation is contributing £1 million to Mannings' charity to help develop a national suicide prevention network. Many Canadians have to tolerate physical pain, mental distress, and sometimes even lost wages for months or even years before they get the medical care they need. CTV's Kathy Lee on why more and more Canadians are looking abroad for relief as surgery wait times at home drag on.
Each step a revelation for Gary Garby. The pain that once consumed him.
It was excruciating. I was bedridden for the most part.
Now becoming a dull memory thanks to surgery on his hip.
It started off as mild osteoarthritis. From there to severe, to the bones were grinding, to the ball collapsing and fracturing.
But relief wasn't found in a Canadian hospital. The 64-year-old flew to Lithuania for the procedure because the wait time at home could have been a year or two.
I couldn't wait. I was just like, I was losing it.
We would have sold things if we needed to in order to go and get this done. It was at that point. The surgery alone was $16,000.
But that price tag's still cheaper than a private clinic back home. Some places almost double. Garby's surgery was facilitated by Med Travel Solutions. It says 95% of patients are from Canada, and they try to schedule everything within 6 weeks.
This is a growing phenomenon. The Canadian healthcare system is letting patients down, so they're giving up and going elsewhere. They don't want to wait.
In a statement, the province says there is more work to do to reduce wait times across our healthcare system, but that Alberta continues to perform better than the national average in surgical wait times in 4 areas: hip replacement, hip fracture repair, knee replacement, and radiation therapy. Still, for Garby, the system failed him.
It's hard to comprehend that you'd have to travel that far to something that like this severity in order to remedy it.
But now the focus is on the future. With each day, he feels closer to reclaiming the life
Things are just going to get better from here on in.
he thought he had lost. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Strathmore, Alberta.
Still ahead, Canada Post delivers hope, but small businesses are still receiving uncertainty. Mail delivery is set to resume, though on a limited basis, after the union representing striking Canada Post employees announced a change in strategy. As of tomorrow morning, local branches will rotate in and out of service. But for many small businesses, that's simply not good enough. CTV's Alison Bamford spoke to one business owner in Saskatoon about their challenges. Alison.
Well, Heather, as we enter the final hours of this nationwide strike, small business owners that we spoke to are itching to see how this all plays out. Late last night, the union representing Canada Post workers announced it will transition to rotating strikes to get mail and parcels moving again after more than 2 weeks on the picket line. The news offers hope to small businesses like this physiotherapy clinic that just opened its doors in Saskatoon. A huge part of their marketing campaign relies on promotional coupons getting mailed out to the community. Right now, the owner is stuck with 10,000 of them that have expiration dates for early November. She says 50% of her marketing budget will be wasted if they don't get mailed out.
If they do deliver those, that would be fantastic. For me, it will be a huge help and will also help me with my stress that I'm right now dealing with.
The Canadian Federation of Independent Business has mixed feelings about the rotating strikes. They say the job action shift will help small businesses, but it also means more continued uncertainty, backlogs, and delayed deliveries. The federal minister responsible for Canada Post says he's encouraged by the move. Rotating strikes will begin tomorrow morning. Local unions will be told when it's their turn to rotate out of service closer to that time. Heather.
Alison Bamford in Saskatoon. One of the world's largest direct air capture facilities is coming to Manitoba, and according to Deep Sky, it'll eventually be able to remove up to 500,000 tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere per year.
I really think we have a unique opportunity in the next couple of years here to really put Canada on the map for global carbon removal.
The carbon removal company says the facilities will help make a clean tech industry. $200 million is going into the first building phase of the project. That's expected to get underway in 2026. Deep Sky estimates the facility will create more than 1,000 construction jobs, plus hundreds of long-term operational positions. After the break, why this season's wine harvest has grape expectations. The Blue Jays will learn who they'll play in the American League Championship Series tonight.
The 1-0. Breaking ball lifted to right.
This home run helped the Tigers even the series at 2 games apiece. Now Detroit and Seattle face off in the deciding game 5 tonight. The winner has a date in Toronto Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Mark Carney is attending Canada's men's friendly soccer match tonight against Australia in Montreal. But before that, the Prime Minister hosted FIFA President Gianni Infantino.
I brought you a little souvenir. No, it's not a souvenir, actually. It's my ticket. It's your ticket.
Have a look at that. Infantino presented Carney a ticket to the first game Canada will host at next summer's World Cup on June 12th in Toronto. You can catch tonight's friendly against the Socceroos. Coverage starts at 7 Eastern on TSN. As we head into the Thanksgiving weekend, producers in Ontario's Niagara wine region are giving thanks for a great stretch of weather this harvest season and new numbers showing a sales surge for domestic wines. CTV's John Venevali-Rao on how Donald Trump's trade war is offering a silver lining for wine producers north of the border.
In Ontario's Niagara region, the grape harvest is well underway. You can see the workers among the row upon row of vines at Hidden Bench Vineyard and Winery, where they've been busy snipping and picking the Pinot Noir.
This year's been a pretty good year. It's been pretty dry, which helps us at this time of year, reduces our mildew.
Fruit that's sorted by hand and grapes that'll be turned into wine, seeing strong demand amid the push to buy Canadian.
Sales have been up a tremendous amount, to the point that, we have to be careful that we don't run out of wine.
Vineyard owner Harold Teal says some of his sales have doubled ever since Ontario and other provinces pulled American alcohol from store shelves. At nearby Westcott Vineyard, it's the same story, and they expect sales to keep growing.
We were already experiencing some growth, but with those U.S. wines coming off, we've just had some really significant great growth.
That growth reflected in the latest numbers. In Ontario, sales of some local wines are up 67% in government-run stores. For reds, it's 80%. As consumers switched to domestic wine instead of products from places like California. Of course, the big question now, what happens when the boycott in Ontario comes to an end? Wine producers say since March, they've heard from plenty of people who'd been previously reluctant to buy their wines.
They are trying Ontario wine, and they're finding that it is really good quality wine.
And once the boycott is lifted, they expect some won't switch back.
Once Canadians taste these wines, they go, why would we buy U.S. wines going forward?
And as the harvest continues, a potential trade war upside worth toasting. John Venevali-Rao, CTV News, Lincoln, Ontario.
That is our newscast for this Friday. I'm Heather Butts. Your local CTV News starts right now.